Hello everyone, this is Eloise at the Chafee Fitness Center in Newport, Rhode Island. Today's practice is going to be a gentle yin practice. So props, blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use some pillows that are the same size. And of course you can do the practice without props as well, right? But it's just nice to have support. We are gonna hold poses for a minute or two, so it's nice to have the support there. If you're not wanting to do a yin practice, then you can come out of this video and check out all my other videos. There's lots of vinyasa practices on our channel, right? So starting with just coming into a child's pose. I like to take my knees a little wider than my hips, but you can bring the legs together if you want. Sinking down, connecting the forehead to your mat. I am connected to the earth. My base of support is stable and solid. Right, that's a nice mantra for our yin yoga practice. It's been a crazy 12 months, or 18 months. It's 12 months, right? So, thinking about why we're practicing today, when your mind starts to wander, right? Thinking about the things that support you, right? That provide you with stability. You know, your job, your partner, your kids, your pet, your home, whatever it might be, right? So when you're feeling like a little wonky, come back to that. Come back to those things that make you feel connected, stable, secure, solid. Right? So we're sinking hips to heels. The hips don't have to touch. If this is really crunchy on your knees, come into a tabletop, right? A modified tabletop on your forearms, or you can put something like you can put your pillows between the hamstrings and the calves too, to give you a little support with the knees. And from here, I'm just gonna drag the hands alongside the body, right? They will flip up. So your palms will face up. Wrists are by the ankles. And then we're just letting the shoulders spread, right? So they're coming into this roundness, that protraction, spreading the shoulder blades away from the spine. I am connected to the earth. My base of support is stable and solid. On your next inhale, we'll slowly bring the arms back out to a regular child's pose. And then coming up, right, finding our cat-cow. And we do this, if you've been following me, we do this in every practice. Right, so tuck the toes, knees are supported. Please don't kneel on a wooden floor, right, a hard surface. Make sure that you've got some, and you can always pad the knees, right? So we tuck the toes, round the back, and tuck the chin. Start to find this flexion in the spine. On your next inhale, we'll come to a neutral spine. So our gaze is down. And then if you want to come into cow, flatten the top of the feet. Drop the belly towards the mat in an anterior tilt, and the gaze is forward if the neck allows, or you can keep the gaze down. And this is our flow for 3 more rounds. Right? So we tuck the toes, on the exhale round the back, tuck the chin. The inhale, we come to a neutral spine with the top of the feet flat, or you find your cow. Right? And 2 more, right? And just being mindful of our elbows, right? You're not hyperextending the elbows, pushing the or keeping the elbows really bent. We have nice strong arms. Last round. And then we'll press back to our child's pose. Rolling up, coming up to stand on our knees, finding our blocks, right? And you can use like a stool or an ottoman if you're doing this at home, right? Take the right foot out, and that left knee is over the left hip. Rotate that left hip, engage the glutes. Have your blocks by your your right leg. Right, and then we'll just start to sink into this very nice, gentle low lunge. Just starting to open up the hip flexors in that left leg. So right hand on the right thigh, left hand stacks, right? We don't want the shoulders elevated, draw them away from the earlobes. And we're just gently pressing our hands, the left hand onto the right into the leg. Just starting to get a nice opening here. So we're gonna pause. Right? And then our breath. Right? Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And if that's a challenge for you, allergies, sinus issues, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, right? We just want to keep breathing. Two more rounds of breath. Round of breath is an inhale and an exhale. And on that second exhale, we'll start to shift that left hip over the left knee. Get your blocks. Right? And we're going to extend your right leg. Right thumb into the right hip crease. Gently draw that right hip back. You would like your hips to be in line, right? And then we try to find a very neutral spine. Right? So you can see I am not the most flexible person. Right? I have very tight hamstrings. We tuck the chin slightly, and then it's a hinge over that right leg. And come back to your breath. Come back to your mantra. I am connected to the earth. Right? I think right now, there's still a lot of uncertainty with what's happening in our world, and it's nice to feel connected. Right? Connected to the earth. You want to be connected to yourself, right? All starts with connecting to the earth. Then we can connect to ourselves, then we can connect to others. Right? Elbows are slightly bent. Drawing the shoulders away from the earlobes. Now your right foot can be flexed or neutral. See what feels better. If you have sciatic pain, keep your foot neutral, which means you're not flexing or pointing. It's just hanging out there, right? It's just very neutral. One more round of breath, and then on that inhale, we'll come back up. Tuck that right leg back, and we'll go to the other side. So we'll bring the left foot forward, rotate that right hip, right? Turn your glutes on. Left hand comes onto the left leg, right hand stacks, and then start to sink your hips towards the top of your mat. I'm just turned sideways so that you can see me, right? And we're just starting to open up those hip flexors because we're gonna get a little deeper in a moment. So I wanna just get this warmed up, right? Come back to your breath and take your mind and think about all these really strong muscles in the front of your leg, right? That help you move every day. One more round of breath, and after that exhale, We can hold onto our blocks or whatever we're using for props. Shift the right hip over the right knee. Extend your left leg. Right, you can take the left thumb into your left hip crease. Right, draw that hip back gently. We tuck the chin. So it's tiny little rotation over that left leg. And there is a little roundness in my back, right? That's just how my body is. Right? But we want to feel this in the belly of our hamstrings, those three big muscles at the back of your thigh. We don't want to feel it in the lower back, the upper back, the shoulders, right? Again, the foot is neutral or flexed. Two more rounds of breath. And on that after that second exhale, we'll inhale. Slowly start to tuck that left leg back, finding a child's pose. Adding on to our child's pose, drawing the right hip over the right heel and walking our hands over to the left. Pausing here. Now, you're probably not, I can't get my forehead to the mat. You can put a block under there if that's uncomfortable. And then once you find this pose, take the heel, the elbows are soft, which means they're slightly bent. And then you're going to start to drag. Pretend like you're dragging the heel of your hands towards your body. And you're going to get a nice little stretch, a little bigger stretch in that, a bigger stretch in your shoulders. On your next exhale, we'll bring the hips back over the heels, come back to your child's pose, reconnect. And shifting the left hip over the left heel, we'll go to the other side, right? Taking the hands over to the right and resting the forehead. We're dragging the heel of our hands isometrically towards our body. One more round of breath, we'll come back to center. Reset pelvis and spine. Right. Then inhale, roll back up to stand on your knees for just a moment. So coming into a dragon pose, right? So this is called dragon. It's like a runner's lunge. Right, have your blocks handy. Right. So our back leg, our back knee is on the ground instead of being elevated for this pose. Right. Again, we're rotating the hips so the hips are level with one another. Right, the back leg is here. And we're just gonna pause. So blocks are really great. I'm going to use my blocks. I like the height there, right? So they can be at level 1 or level 2 or level 3. So level 2 works for me. Now this pose, you can start to jump into the lower back, which is, we don't want to do that, right? So we find find your pelvic tilt here, right? We're engaging the core. Contract your left butt cheek, right? And you're going to get a bigger stretch in the front of the legs, I promise you. So coming up higher, to flying high dragon, you can take your hands like we did in our low lunge and bring the hands up. Now, if this is uncomfortable in the lower back, don't do it. Right, come back here. And come back to your breath. Come back to those things that make you feel connected, supported, stable. One more round of breath, and on that exhale, we'll bring the hands back to the blocks, right? Then take that right foot out just a little bit, and we're gonna come into a goddess foot, right? So you can take your toes out, or you can roll out on the outer arch of that foot. And now this is lizard pose, right? We do this in yoga, right? So here the hands, wrists are under the shoulders, gaze is down. If you want to go a little deeper, you can come on the blocks. But wherever we are, we're going to have a nice strong back. Right? Don't collapse in, thinking, how long do I have to hold this? Right? You have permission to come out of the pose at any time. You don't have to hold it as long as I am, right? Permission, you don't, this is your practice, right? So you come out of the pose when you feel like it, but we're almost there. We have 3 more rounds of breath. After that third exhale, wherever you are, right, we're gonna rise up and take the blocks out. Start to gently, really gently, start to shift that left hip over the left knee. Bring that right leg around. Let's come into a child's pose. Rolling up to do the other side. Up, taking the left foot forward, right? And again, so to set this up, if you want to come up into a runner's lunge quickly, right? Left knee is over the left ankle, and then come down on the back knee and flatten the top of the foot. You can do that. Blocks, if you want them. Right? We rotate that right hip. Shoulders are in their pockets, elbows are soft, gaze is down. You can close your eyes. Right? Sometimes that's really nice, especially if you're at home and there's distractions, you know, pets, children, TV's on, whatever's happening, right? Maybe closing the eyes. So if you want to do, you can stay here. Feel free to stay here. Or if you want to come into flying high dragon, right, left hand on the left leg, right hand comes up. Right, but you have, this is where we have to maintain the integrity of our lower back and our pelvis, right? So engaging that those right glute muscles, right? Finding that little posterior tilt in our pelvis is going to keep you from dumping into the lower back. Right, but this isn't for everyone. So again, you just come back to your regular dragon if this isn't for you. We have 2 more rounds of breath. On the second exhale, right, we'll come back down, reset, and then toe heel that left foot out a little bit. Right? Hands come on the inside, your wrists are under the shoulders, right? So this is your goddess foot here if you want it, or you can roll out on the outer arch. That's gonna get into your adductors, right? We're just starting to prep those for our, coming up for our next pose. Right, so from here, if you want the blocks, I'm on level 3 today. Right, this is level 3. And you can come down, press the forearms. Nice strong back, we're not collapsing in. Come back to your breath, bring the awareness back to that inhale, exhale. On your next exhale, right, we'll start to bring the hands back to the mat if they're not already there. Very gently start to shift that right hip over the right knee. We'll bring that left leg around. Sinking into our child's pose, we're gonna add a thread through here, right? So the arms come out. You're gonna take the left arm, palm up, and thread it through, and then rest on the left side of your head, right? If that's unattainable, just put the block under there. Right, if this is any way bothers the shoulder joint, don't do it, right? Come back to the child's pose with the arms in front of you. And you can also do this in a tabletop. You can also do this in a tabletop. Sometimes that full flexion, you know, hips to heels on the knees just doesn't feel good for some people. On your next inhale, we'll release that left arm. We'll reset, connect the forehead to the mat or the block, and then we'll thread the right arm through. And then we rest on the right side of our head with or without the block. And then we'll bring that right arm back. Inhale, roll into your tabletop. Walk the wrists out just in front of the shoulders, lining up the wrist crease as much as you can with the top of your mat. Tucking the toes, lifting the hips, just come into a down dog. Feet are hip distance apart, or they can be as wide as the mat. Right? Depends on your body or how you're feeling today. Right, we're hugging the elbows towards one another. Then bend the right knee. Draw the left heel towards the mat. And pause. Just giving some love to our calf muscles. And then switch, bend the left knee, draw the right heel down. Find a rhythm for 4 more rounds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Right, we'll bend the knees, little steps to the top of our mat. Right, and come into a nice little ragdoll. Right, so knees can be bent, holding on to opposite forearms, taking the crown of the head. Right, taking the arms over the crown of the head if you can. Now again, right, if that's too much on the hamstrings, get blocks. Just rest your hands on the blocks. This is a nice gentle practice. Two more rounds of breath. And on the second exhale, we'll release the hands. Fingertips in front of the toes. Inhale, come to your halfway lift. Draw the shoulder blades towards the spine. The exhale, bend the knees and fold. And then coming down. So bring your hands down to the mat or the blocks. And then we're going to take the feet out, right, into a malasana squat. So sit on a block. Right? If this is uncomfortable, or your legs are just really tired, you can sit on a block. Hands are in prayer, connect the palms. Right, we're gonna press the heels of the hands towards the mat, right? And the bottom of your triceps are gonna press into your legs. We're just getting a really big stretch in our adductor muscles. So we're pressing the heel of the hands towards the mat. Right. That will help elongate the spine. Right. I like to tuck my chin here a little bit. You can look forward if you want to. And then we'll release that. Come onto your backs. Okay, come onto your back. So I'm going to offer to frog or butterfly pose. Okay, so frog is pretty intense. And it's going to stretch the adductor muscles, the inner thighs. So I'm going to model both. Butterfly pose is laying on your back. Soles of the feet face each other, but because we're holding this pose for a while, I'd love you to have a little support there, right? So that's our butterfly pose. If you want to try frog, remember, you have to remember your teacher is very tight, right? And this pose used to be a big challenge until I figured out that I go as big as I can go, right? So knees are under the hips, right? Please have the knees and the ankles on a mat or a carpet, right? Your ankles are lined up with your knees, and then the inner arch of your foot is resting, right? And then this could be it, right? This could be frog, right? You can come down on your forearms. You can have the blocks for support, right? Whatever you'd like to do. And then I do a little shift forward and back, little tiny shift. And then there it is. I feel the pose right there, right? Inner thighs, adductor muscles. Again, just like we did in that lizard, we have a nice strong back. And we come back to our breath. I am connected to the earth. My base of support is stable and solid. Come back to those things, right? Come back to those things that you hold in your heart, right? The people that support you, the things that support you. So this is it. We're going to be here for just a little bit longer. Whenever you want to come out of it, please feel free. If it gets to be too much, you could just go lay on your back and go to that butterfly pose. Two more rounds of breath. You're almost there. Right, on that second exhale, what I'd like you to do, we want to come out of this very carefully, right? So if you're on blocks, come up onto your hands, right? And then just gently, I bring my right ankle in, and then bring my right knee in, and just kind of bring, toe heel it in, and then find the child's pose, right? If you're in butterfly pose, just stay there. We're going to meet you in one moment. Just get that child's pose, and then come onto your backs. And here we are, we'll just meet everybody. Everyone's in butterfly pose now. Blocks if you want them. 4 rounds. Just a little strengthening for the inner thighs. Keep the soles of the feet connected. And then try to bring the inside of your knees to touch. Right? And then we'll bring the legs back down. Do that 3 more times. Right? Exhale. Try to bring the inside of the knees to touch. The inhale, we float them back to their position, start position. 2 more. Right? So you're squeezing the inner thighs towards one another. Release. Last one. And then come back down. Pause here. Right. So very slowly start to bring the sole of the left foot to the mat. And then the sole of the right foot comes back to the mat. Blocks go over to the side. Keep the right leg bent. Extend your left leg. Left leg bent, extend the right leg. Hamstrings, right? You can connect behind the thigh, or if you're super open, if you have that flexibility, you can also hold onto the calf. We don't pull from behind the knee, watching all those ligaments and tendons, right? But you would like your head to rest. If your chin is higher than your forehead, put a block back there. We're hugging that left leg towards the midline, right? Don't let it fall open. It's nice and strong. Foot is flexed or neutral. I don't have sciatica, so I'm gonna keep my foot slightly flexed. And then let's switch sides. So bend the right knee, bring the right foot, connect the 3 points of the right foot, right? The space below the big toe and the little toe and the heel. Keep the inner arch lifted as we extend the left leg. Gaze is up, eyes could be closed. One more round of breath, and on the exhale, we'll take that left foot down, taking the right ankle onto the left leg. Lift the left foot off. So this can be supported with a block. It's a little thinny, but right. You have like really tight hips or knees. Tight hips or hamstrings, right, or crunchy knees. This is great. This is supported, right? And you're getting that nice stretch in your piriformis and your glute medius. So your piriformis, the little muscle that runs from the bottom of like your sacrum, and it goes under all those major butt muscles, glute muscles, and attaches to the outside of your thigh bone, right? And the sciatic nerve runs through there. I have a really unhappy piriformis on my right side. Did something to it years ago, right? So I'm a little bit more cautious on this side. You can also thread through as well. One more round of breath. We'll unwind that, go over to the other side. Take the left leg, Try to keep the right knee in line with the right hip. You can stay here with the supported variation. You can take the hands through, right? But I would prefer if you weren't doing this, right? Now we're dumping all this stress into the neck and the shoulders, right? Let's keep our yoga through the whole body in this practice, right? So just put a pillow or something under there. If you're having a hard time threading through and you really want to try it. more round of breath. And we'll release. Take your feet wide inside of the knees to touch. And we'll do this gentle windshield wiping. Feels really nice. So, next time you find yourself, right, with your knees going towards the left, this is where we'll pause. Right, and you know, like you can put a block under your legs if you want to. Right, let's pop that into there. If you don't like the sensation of that, the leg just hanging out there, you can put the block there. If you want to get a little deeper in this stretch and you don't have any hip or lower back issues, you can stack that left ankle on the right thigh, right, and just use the extra weight. But there's no jamming here. So you're getting this really nice stretch in the front of that right hip. You might feel it behind the hip too. You can have Shavasana arms, palms up. If you're stacked, let's release. Right, feet again are wide on your mat. Bring the inside of the knees to connect. Keep the inner arches lifted. We're resetting our pelvis and spine. Right, and then dropping the knees over to the right. And just see how that feels. Right, maybe taking that right ankle onto the left leg is inappropriate. You can try it. Just because you do it on one side, it might not be appropriate on the other. I am connected to the earth. My base of support is stable and solid. I keep all the good stuff, all those things that help me feel connected. Keep it in your heart center. Your heart chakra sits at your breastbone, right? It's green in color, right? We hold a lot of good stuff in there. Right? I always think of it as like a little purse where I can put all the good stuff. So when I'm having a bad day or a hard day, I can go to my heart center and remember the things. Remember the people, the things that support me, right? We'll release that leg if you're stacked. Very gently come back. Bring the inside of the knees to touch. Feet are wide. And we're going to close our practice in construction pose. So we bring the inside of the knees to touch. Head can rest on something if that feels good. And then let's imprint the lower back. So we're just doing a little pelvic tilt and connecting our lower back. Right? Inner arches are lifted, so don't take your feet super wide. Shavasana arms. And we're going to take a minute here to close our practice. Let's sip and inhale through the nose. Sigh it out. One more time. Then we'll very gently just take the knees apart from one another. Right? The left knee just comes towards the chest. Please keep the pelvis connected. Right? We're not making a cannonball. Can be a nice space between the thighs and the torso. Roll over to your right side. Just pause for a moment. Right, and then on your next inhale, press into that left hand. Right, and come around to a seated position. Right, you can sit in easy pose with ankles crossed or thunderbolt with hips to heels. Right? Connect the hands, palms together in prayer mudra. Thank you all so much for joining me. Any questions, concerns, please send me a message on YouTube. We'll take the thumbs up to the third eye as we find our bow of gratitude and say namaste. Have a wonderful day.